Shey we know wetin dey call Ifa first. Ifa, wetin be Ifa? But before I start to dey talk about Ifa, I no go wan talk that Ifa, but that name Ifa itself, e get how e dey make we feel, especially Nigerians, Africans, how we dey feel about wetin be Ifa. But if I go talk about quantum physics, that one dey make sense. So what is quantum physics? What's quantum mechanics? More original in layman's language. Quantum physics or mechanics is the study of the tiniest particles of protons, electrons, neutrons, and other things that we see but we can't see, or we experience or we can't see. So now we can go to what we call Ifa now. I no go rush us through what it be basically, but at the same time, I go on brush through some information so that if you understand why I did here, why I talk. You understand? So Ifa itself, Ifa, I-F-A, is simply the spoken word of Olodumare. And who is Olodumare? Olodumare is not God. Olodumare is not Jesus. Olodumare is not something that is or can be defined, but at the same time, it is recognized. Yeah, I use the word recognize. It says that we recognize that name, Olodumare, as a being or something we don't know, but we know say it did. As per Yoruba people though, maybe for the next call we will get, I will talk about Yoruba self because we get history as we did. And permit me, I will speak in English, Pidgin, and Yoruba so that we can actually be able to understand what I'm saying and understand ourselves. So let's conclude that Ifa is the word of Olodumare. Orelo, Olodumare, la Queen Ifa, I-F-A. So how do you know what Olodumare is saying? You can't know it except we go to meet a Babalawo. A Babalawo is the custodian of the old stories, the old information within inside Ifa. You understand? And now, wetin be Olodumare or who be Olodumare? In Yoruba language and in our linguistics, when we want to say the owner of a house, we go talk say òun ló ní ilé or onílé. You understand? Now, the owner of heaven is Ọ̀run in Yoruba land, in our language, yeah. So we say Ọlọ́run. The old echo Olo it denotes that's a prefix here. OLO is a prefix that denotes the owner. It shows the ownership that you own something. So Ọlọ́run means the owner of heaven. Olúayé is the Lord of earth or Alaye. So instead of saying Ọlọ́run or Olúayé, we say Alaye, and is the owner of the earth. And who owns the ocean? We call him the Oha, Oloko. You understand? Whoever owns the Oloko is called Oloko. So now we now have something or someone called Olodumare. So we break it down. Olo, that's owner. Odu simply means codes, unknown, x's. Like when they tell us to find the x in mathematics, you understand? That we call Odu. Whatever we don't know, but we need to find out what it says, it's called Odu. Whatever it's wrapped up in a box is Odu as far as we are concerned in Yoruba land. So if I don't know what's inside this thing, you call it Odu. So Mare means yeah it is or yeah it is. So this is the Olodumare. This is the owner of all the Odus. So that I will say Olodumare. Is the reason why I spoke about quantum physics, Ifa, and Olodumare. Why? Because I'm looking for the best way to explain what Ifa is all about to even the ones that are not as learning as some of us share. So, but I look at many of smart people and wise people, intelligent men and women, they go all around bastardizing their spirituality, their culture, and their own personal way of life. And they will not exalt the colonial master zone. Yeah. But before we get there, I want you to follow me gradually so that you will start with my information. I'm not here to bastardize anyone's culture, anyone's religion. I'm here to belittle anyone's culture or spirituality or religious belief. I'm here to demystify some informations we think are way extraordinary for us to understand because there is no English language to break it down. I would help us to break them down so we all can understand why whatever we think is terrible or evil in our culture is not. So we'll get to the point where we break down what quantum physics is actually. But I want us to understand our old first, Olodumare. Olodumare, I hope you got the information already. Olodumare is the person that owns the old codes in this universe. Is Olodumare. And the way Olodumare can talk to us is through what? Ifa. Because the word from Olodumare is Ifa itself. We call it sound frequency in the normal scientific word. So you can hear it right now because I'm speaking at a particular frequency. The language I'm using to talk to you, which is English, and I'm using Pidgin and Yoruba once in a while. Yeah, is there a frequency at which you hear the Yoruba sound? Is a frequency at which Hausa sounds? Is a frequency at which Igbo sounds? Even Ibira, Tapa, they even when you get to some places like Oshogo, Ekiti, Ondo, they speak Yoruba. Yeah, they actually speak Yoruba language, but they don't sound the same thing because they sound at different frequency. Now those frequencies are still what we can call Odu in our whole land, in Yoruba land, share understand, which is the code. So if I'm not an Igbo man, I hear Kedu called the Odima. Maybe you can understand what that means because you are closer. We have some people around here in Lagos that we are. Yeah, you might like, well, Odima means Wadada, Kedu means Baomi, share understand. But will a Jamaican know what Kedu means or Odima means? No. The sound or the frequency Odima that you are making from your vocal cavity, it's a code, it's a frequency that a Jamaican can never understand. Do you understand? So as far as Jamaican is concerned, that Kedu code or Odima that a Jamaican is listening to is a code he can't understand. He or she, they can't fathom that frequency. Do you get? So there's a particular frequency at which Olodumare passes informations to his creations, and that frequency or those words is what we call Ifa. So Ifa is not a person. Ifa is not an idol like some of you would say. Ifa is not a god. No, Ifa is the word of Olodumare. Do you get me? And I hope we can understand that so we can move forward to the next phase of this conversation. So now we know what Ifa is, we know what Olodumare is, right? And we know what about that is. Now, what is now quantum physics? We can't talk about quantum physics without explaining what energy is. Because what we call physics is basically all about energy. And now what's energy? E equals to mc squared. So energy is the ability to make things happen. Energy is the ability to get things into action. Energy is actually is happening right now. The chair right now is energy. The lights in this studio I am now is energy. Share and sun. So E is energy, M is what? Matter, and C is the speed of light, C squared. So the ability to see things happening is energy. The ability to load things are happening is actually energy. And energy births what we call quantum mechanics, quantum physics. So for example now, there's a part of science that we learned when we were in junior secondary school. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. So talking about energy now, remember I told you that Ifa is what Olodumare. How does Olodumare send his word to their energy, which is the sound energy and the light energy that we, because we can't notice without seeing and hearing, which is our major form of communication. What you see, what you hear is what you say. I hope you understand that. So we know that we see with the light energy, we hear sound energy, and we speak sound energy. Okay, for the scientific people. Now, before I go into it further, let's just break down the quantum ideas first. What is the ideology in this whole quantum thing? We have what we call particles and waves. We have what we call the observer's effects. We have what we call the entanglement theory. We have the probability or possibility, which is not certainty. And I'll explain these four quantum ideas to us carefully so we can really understand why I'm using quantum physics to the patient configuration. So let's first talk about particles and waves. Particles can be solid, direct, like our actions, It's I choose to stand with an action, which is energy. It takes I need energy to stand right now. I pick up the cutlass, I go to the farm, I clear the weeds. That is energy, which is particles. Any whims is actually our intentions, our thoughts, our subliminal informations that we don't even know is happening. And it's actually happening because it's energy. So let's say you pick up a stone and you throw it inside a river or a stagnant water. You watch the stone travel and drops in the water and you see ripples form. See those ripples, those are the waves, those are the intentions. But the particles itself is the stone that we throw in water. I hope I communicate or are communicating with you guys. And I will also have the observer's effects. Observation. For observation, like observation, you're observing, you are focusing on something either with your eyes or with your ears. And what you're observing are actually energies as well too. But during the moment you choose to observe something, there's going to be an effect, either positive or negative, on whatever you're observing. Let's say we start focusing on playing football. You're not playing ball there too. Like you're not even playing ball. It's the fact that you are paying attention to football, your Instagram, your YouTube, your TikTok, the moment your search, your FYP is all about self-defense. You don't know when you say Muay Thai, Taekwondo, Karate, boxing, even Krav Maga. You start changing the way you see things. You wake up in the morning, you go on TikTok, you're already saying 5 defense techniques. Because of what? Observations. The algorithms, they use observations to give you what you want to see, what you want to hear. And now, what happens to you that you're observing now? What happens to you? You're out there looking at how someone's right hand is moving and how you can bop and dodge the punches coming, where you can kick someone that's trying to rob you so that you can destabilize and disarm such person. Observer's effect is a quantum physics. And it's a quantum mechanics of quantum physics as well. So these two information I've given you guys, I want you guys to try your best to relate it with how Ifa works, how your so-called our so-called how the bigger stuff. So based on the observer's effect now, whatever you focus on, whatever you can focus on, starts to shift either positively or negatively. And this how it affects our head as well, which we call the word in my language, Yoruba language. So you hear the Babala will tell you that go and appease your head, go and take care of your head. They are making some quantum shifts already for you. You think the Babala, you think the magician. No, the information that they have, they are still discovering it at this present time based off quantum physics. Do you understand? You can research and read more about observer's effect and see how it affects you the moment you're observing something. It shifts either positively or negatively. Because the next quantum ideology that I would like to share with you is the entanglement theory. How does the entanglement theory work? Let's talk about a movie I watched, Number of the Child. I don't know if I'll say this movie by main Frank Pictures. Sunday Kilani. The title of the movie is Shall We Read It? So I won't go into this of what the movie is all about, but let's fast forward to that part where that military man went to preside over those people in just now, and this military man has promised to show them help, if I can remember. So there was meant to be a king in that community. He forcefully took the king's crown. The king's crown was made of bronze. Is it bronze or brass? Not gold, not silver, either bronze or brass. But the crown has a connection, an entangled connection with a particular drum somewhere. And there's a kind of a family, they are called the Ayo family. They are the one in charge of that drum. The drum is embedded with like rings or belts, small bells of brass or bronze as well. So it's called Ide in Yoruba language. Ide is what our supreme mother, the Oshut, he's well known and Ide do. So that's another story similar time. So Ide is around the drum, like the go-go drum, the very big go-go drum. So whenever they hit the drum, the Ide rings. Like the title of the movie is Shall We Read It? So now there's a family that is in the position of that drum. They drum the drum whenever the rightful king wears the crown. So if the rightful king wears the crown, nothing bad happens to the rightful king. But whoever forces themselves to become that king and wears that crown and they eat that draw, the person wearing the crown would either die or something negative shall happen to that person, because the seat on the throne is not well served to that person. So this military person, this military man, forcefully took the crown and took over that tower. Then he needed Arapa recover and rest Jabata. Like, just go and see that movie, you will understand what I'm saying better. But I'm trying to explain the entanglement theory, how it's working inside our ancient tradition. Before I will still explain how just try to find out how to balance and check balance it here in Quantum Ifa. But right now, right here, in this time, they are still doing more experiments to balance and perfect entanglement. So, what is entanglement? Entanglement simply means two things being connected together, even though they are far apart. That is to explain why we call on to our ancestors and we are connected to our ancestors, and we can notice them hear us and even answer us. That's entanglement. That explains the story I'm trying to say, or I was trying to make in the movie that I was talking about, the Shaolin movie. The first quantum idea now is probability or possibility, not certainty. Yeah, this is how this works now. Everything right here in this our plane, this is our timeline. We have so many probabilities. Like quantum physics cannot tell you what will happen. It can only tell you what could happen, which is simply possibility and not certainty. In Ifa tradition, when you go for an Ifa consultation, a particular order comes out. Let's say Oyekomedi, for example. Oyekomedi, for example, now has so many possibilities aligned for you. So many sacrifices, so many structures, warnings, blessings, and do's and don'ts. Now it's now you as a person that will make your choice. You're going to choose a particular path in which you will work on, which is exactly how Quantum Ifa really works. Do you understand? Like, and that is it. Like, no money less. I really hope we all can try our best to see this the way it ought to be seen, to accept our culture, our spirituality the way they have. We are original scientists, we are calculators, we are philosophers, we are knowers. We find wisdom, we search for wisdom, which is what Ifa is all about. Ifa is basically about wisdom, but unfortunately, many of us don't know the rule behind wisdom, which is knowledge and understanding. Without the ability to know, you can never be wise. Why you won't be wise? Because once you know, you need to take few steps to understand what you know. You know something, do you understand what you know? Do you? Now you don't even understand what you know, and you are there talking about things that you know but you don't understand. Therefore, you are not wise. There's a very thin line between foolishness and wisdom. We need to understand that. There's a reason we say this in rock cosmology that Orunmila they call him the ancient god of wisdom. You understand? The deity of wisdom. That's what you can explain what Orunmila is. But why do they call him wisdom? Why do they say that a Babalawo is a wise person? Because a Babalawo does his research to find out things and to understand that which he or she has found out. So the more you can understand what you know, trust me, your application will be filled with grace of wisdom. So this is why quantum science and Ifa are speaking about the same thing: energy, connection, and choice. Energy is everything around us. Our ability to use those energy connects us with those energy. The choices we make with the connections to the energy is what stands us out as human. If we don't follow the principles of these connections, we might not achieve the same thing. You get? You can follow the same rules and everything, the same paths, and not achieve the same thing. There's one called superposition. That one we'll talk about that maybe later in our next music. The only difference in your quantum science and the Ifa now that I would like us to, one speaks in the equation, while the other speaks in wisdom. So now we're going to be comparing some aspects of quantum science with some aspect of the Ifa tradition. First, what we're looking at is superposition. You can compare superposition with the ideology of knowing or finding out that you have multiple destinies in one Ifa reading. Secondly, you can look at observer's effect. Remember, we explained what the observer's effect is first here. So you can compare the observer's effect with the result that is shaped by your ori and your intentions. Whatever your ori truth is and what your intentions are, they are all shaped in Yoruba Ifa tradition, which is what we can compare as the observer's effect. Next one, look at the entanglement theory that we spoke about previously. You can compare that to the aspect of to how divinely connected Oro and Aye is. What is Oro? Oro is the heavenlies, Aye is the earthlies. So there's a divine connection between the heavenlies and the earthlies, which is what we can also refer or compare to entanglement theory in quantum physics. Next, we go to wave function collapse. Well, I call it wave function collapse, what it is called in quantum physics. It can be compared to how we choose our paths after an Ifa divination. Remember, when you go for Ifa divination, you are given so many readings, so many students, so many choices. You're going to make a choice, and that's what's going to create the wave function collapse, which is in quantum physics. Next one, we talk about the ideology of informations never getting lost, which can be compared to how our ancestors live through coded odus. And what are odus? Informations. Odus are encoded informations. So you can compare that to what? To informations that are never lost in quantum science. So maybe Ifa was just a religion. Ifa is physics in Yoruba language. So now let's get practical with these information that I've shared with you guys now. Let's take, for example, you go to a Babalawo and a particular Odu is revealed. And that Odu, you have like 3 choices. One would definitely lead to success, great success, but it requires you to follow instructions and offer some sacrifices. While the other one is easy to attain, easy to achieve, but you lose something. And the third option is quite uncertain and it's quite foggy. What would you do? So this information I'm giving you guys, I would like you guys to try to have information in the back of your mind. Ifa does a command. Ifa will relay the choices to you, give you all the choices to make. So all you have to do is for you to be in that field, in that particular field, energy field, make your choice and collapse other possibilities and focus on that choice that you've observed and put into act. So it's same thing in quantum science. All possibilities are existing until you make an observation of one of the possibilities and act on that possibilities. All other possibilities will cease from acting, and that's one that you choose. That's one choice you make. You transcend or transform into your own reality, which is quantum science. So in multi-reality, you pick from several possibilities, which is life. We all need principles to guide us. We have so many chances to become anything. Just imagine we have a certain life. We have everything. You know that when you do this, you get that. Even though we have laws, like laws to guide us, not laws to command us. So like I always understand, there are laws are meant to guide and not to command. But you know that, okay, when you wear white clothes, you make money. Everybody will start wearing white clothes, start making money now. But you also know that not everybody that wears your white clothes would make money. You understand? So we have several possibilities here in life. All you have to do is observe and act on one of those possibilities. One of all those possibilities. And straight up, it becomes a reality, which is what quantum science is all about, which is also what Ifa is all about. So guys, let me take you further with the story from the Ifa. A young man, he went to Babalawo to find out what's going on in his life. Things are not making sense. He's doing the properties he used to do, but they were really not making sense. And the Babalawo consulted Ifa for the president, and Ejigbe appeared as an Odu. And the Babalawo now the Odu says, the Ejigbe says that, Emi Okoju, Oju Okom, and Oju ba ko ni ko ma lo. Adifa fún ìrìgbẹ̀rẹ̀, èyí tó lọ ṣe ọkọ ìgbé, Emi Okoju, Oju Okomi, and Oju ba ko ni ko ma lo. So what this Ifa is saying in Ejigbe is saying that although this person that came for this Ifa divination he ought to be, he has everything to be great in life, to be successful, to be blessed. but he was moving too fast, too aggressive, and he was not working in alignment with his own destiny. Based on the audio that came out, that's the AGB that came out, Babalawo has to advise him that, hey young man, take things slowly, take things steadily. This young man, to follow the instructions. Everything that was blocked, every that seemed so impossible, so as to achieve, became easy to achieve. So in quantum terms, this young man that went to divine at Babalawo's place, he has to align his energy. He observed the parts and shifted his vibration. So this new decision now created a new outcome for him, just like collapsing a quantum wave into a stable form, which is what we all search for in life. We all search for stability. Basically, two only just started. Ifa and quantum physics are not a conflict. They both speak the same language. One is in Yoruba, while the other one speaks Equations. So if you find this information insightful, I will appreciate if you like, share, comment your thoughts, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel. I'm Starmond, and this is Quantum Ifa with Starmond.